all this. Okay. Now we want to understand the existence including nature in module 4. So, module 4 is basically trying to understanding the coexistence with other orders. We will explore into the following in this module through lecture 16 to 20. Existence as coexistence. Coexistence is ever present, ever effective, ever expressive. Expression of coexistence as nature, 4 orders. Coexistence, which is submergence, shows itself in the form of harmony, innateness and relationship, the natural characteristic in 4 orders. Existence can be understood by every self is perennially active, isn't it? You are active all the time. The activity of desire, thought, expectation is taking place all the time, every moment. Does it depend upon the activity of the body? No. So, I, this self is energized in space, right? Whether I look at the body, I do not look at the body, whether I have any transaction with the body, not have any transaction with the body, my activities are going on. Can you see that? Very interesting thing, isn't it? Till now you thought that if you do not eat two times, you will not be able to think. Now you can see, you can think, If you do not take food and your stomach is empty, you tend to think more, isn't it? When you fall sick, the body has fallen sick. What about you? Your thinking goes down? No. You continue to think, right? Second, the unit is self-organized in space. This sun is in space, this earth is in space. This earth is self-organized in space, or you have to organize this earth? Self-organized in space, right? Third is the unit recognizes its relationship with other unit and fulfills that in relationship in space. So, if you take earth and sun, the earth is in space, it is energized in space, it is self-organized in space, it is recognizing its relationship with the sun and going round the sun, right? All this is happening, or you have to do something? All this is happening, right? And you can see this with the self also. The self is self-organized in space, right? Have you done anything for the self to be there? Anybody has done anything for the self to be there? So, self is there by way of coexistence, right? It is energized in space, it is self-organized in space, and it is recognizing its relationship with the body and fulfilling that relationship. What have you done for the body to be there? You are nurturing it after it is there. You are nurturing it after the body is there. What have you done for it to be there? It is very interesting, You have not done anything for the self to be there. It is there by way of coexistence. You have not done anything for the body to be there, and you have not done anything for the coexistence of the self and body to be there. It is all given. It is all given, it has all taken place by way of coexistence. So, it is all gift for you. You are a gift to yourself. Okay? You are there without doing anything for it. Can you see this?
Yes, Bhaiya, one doubt for me here, Vijaya.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not doing anything, but my parents are doing something to give my body. Am I right in that sense?
Yeah, but at least I'll. But at least we have not done anything. So even you are gifted to yourself. Now, when you have not done anything for you to be there, and it is all by way of coexistence, harmony, and relationship, right? Then you can understand all that you can do is by way of coexistence, harmony, and relationship, because that is the way things are happening. So you think that you are very great, I can do this, I can do that, right? You have not done anything for you to be there, right? You are there by way of coexistence, harmony, and relationship. Can you see this? Can you understand this? Yes, everything is gifted. So don't worry, no accident will take place. Till now things have happened without you doing anything. And this is very important to understand.
Bhaiya, I
This is
have a question.
very important to understand. This is very important to understand, because all this ego that you were talking about, where does this ego come from? You think that you are great, you are special, and you can do this and you can do that, right? The moment you realize that you have not done anything for yourself to be there, right? You are the gift of this coexistence, this harmony, this relationship. Where will you place the ego? Where will you place the ego? So this ego is there because we have not understood the coexistence, the harmony, the relationship, and how it expresses itself in different forms. That has to be understood. And that is what we are trying to understand now. That all that we see in the nature, in the existence, is the expression of this coexistence, this harmony, this relationship, which is already there at the base of this coexistence, right? Base of this existence. And if we can see that, then we will be able to realize that we as human beings, what best we can do is to understand this coexistence, harmony, and relationship, right? And live with that coexistence, harmony, and relationship. What else can we do? And that is all that is required, because if you understand the coexistence, have the feeling of coexistence, and you are living with coexistence, you are in a state of harmony and happiness every moment, right? Your ultimate goal is naturally, ensured. So that is what we want to see in this section. Yes.
Effect, or
Yeah.
is it the relatedness?
It is the state, you may call it effect also, of being in coexistence, harmony, and relationship. See, the whole existence is by way of coexistence, harmony, and relationship. If I also become in line with this coexistence, harmony, and relationship, that is fulfillment.
Bhaiya. Bhaiya. So you said this pointer example.
Yeah.
What is that pointer has to do with energized in space, Bhaiya? It is a non-living thing, this pointer. So what is there to get energized in space for this pointer?
This is not, inactive. Every atom of this, every molecule of this is activity or inactivity? Activity. I mean, if you look at this, for example, it is constituted of very large number of atoms, right? Each atom is an activity, activity in space,
Okay, Bhaiya.
right?
Thank you, sir.
In fact, when you look from outside, you don't feel that it is activity. In fact, look for you example, Somebody looks at you from outside, he thinks no activity. When you look inside, you see so many activities. Yes.
Yeah, at what point this self is associating with the body, right from the day one of this baby formation? At what point the self is getting associated with the body?
I mean, normally, the study says that when this development of the brain takes place, then the self can associate with the body. And normally it takes around 4.5 months for the brain to develop. So that is the time it is associating with the body. But if you look at the tradition, and whole lot of work has been done on this, and they have found that the decision for the self to associate with the body is taken much before, okay? And therefore, one of the many of the sanskar have to do with this, preparing on the part of the parents to invite the right kind of self, to associate with their body that they are going to give birth to, or they are going to conceive, So even before conception, okay, you have to prepare, the parents have to prepare themselves to invite the right kind of self, to associate with the body that they are planning to conceive, okay. And when they have conceived, then also there is time for you to kind of work to get right kind of self to be associated. But that 4.5 months is the time when, even this self has decided to associate, right? The proper, this thing is not there, link is not there. So it takes almost 4.5 months to associate with the body.
But yeah, when
And
we,
once the self is associated with the body, then the mother can feel the independent movement of the body of the child. Otherwise it is all under the control of the, mother's body.
if that I am here to understand myself, still we are all in the process, while inviting the other self to be associated with me. Is this part really required, or we can work on only understanding ourselves?
See, what is expected is that before you decide to have, kind of the baby, or invite someone, or even before getting married, it is time that you do the self exploration, okay, and understand yourself, and you understand how to live, a fulfilling life in oneself and in relationship with others and the whole society and the whole existence. That part has to be completed in the process of education and sanskar itself. Unfortunately, it is not happening, but that is supposed to be completed. In fact, that was expected, that first 25 years of your life, you should be able to complete this process of right understanding, right feeling, right thought and right living. Then you are prepared to, develop a family, okay. Get into this system of family where now you are inviting somebody else to come and associate with you, and you take the responsibility of giving right education and sanskar to that self, right. So next 25 years you have to do this. Another 25 years you have to work for this education or this kind of system to be there in the whole society. And ultimately last 25 years you have to make sure that the whole nature is, kind of in accordance with this. But unfortunately we are not giving the right kind of education and sanskar. Therefore these 25 years are gone without developing that competence. And now we become, we get married and we want to become parents, right? And we are inviting the other self without ourselves being responsible. So then this question comes.
Sir, whether I am going to choose my parents or my parents are going to choose me.
Both of you have to decide. I keep giving this example, interesting example, when you have a workshop like this, okay, after 3-4 days, out of these 70 people, I mean this is a, kind of level 3 workshop, but if you look at the introductory workshops, but you are also the same. You you find that out of these 60 people, you make different groups. Whenever there is a break, they will all assemble together, or now then they start sitting together. Okay, how did you take that decision? Like-minded people who search, and you assemble together. That is what is happening in this mother and son and daughter and all these people. Very unaware, but you are making a selection. You are making a selection. Yeah, in fact, waiting for the right associations, you keep looking for right association. Body is one part of it, and but you don't have to wait. Even now you can start, that's what we are saying, that you can start working on yourself right now. Okay, whatever distance you are able to travel, good. Okay, and be aware, continue to be aware, so even when you are not associated with the body, you can do some work. Okay, when you get associated with the next body, you can continue with that work. Okay, but why take long time? Let's do it, right in this association with the body. So that kind of important thing we are trying to do. It's not just attending this UHV-3 course and teaching it. It's for my whole life. The possibilities that is there in the life, and to understand that possibility and to be with that possibility. Yes.
It will take some time.
Yes, Bhaiya.
Yeah.
Yes, Bhaiya. First, I'll just request your permission that whether I can speak about this.
Check.
First, I will request you, Bhaiya, whether I can speak about it. After that, I can. Because something according to my religious things, can I? Otherwise, I will not. I will not put forth. I can move forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Please.
So, the things that were put up, when we are there in our mother's womb, before that it has been created, it is there on the God's hands that all our names by so and so person, you will be called by this name that has been created. According to me, I am just putting forth as God. So, you will be called so and so. There is a creator. In Tamil, we used to tell, படைத்தவருக்கு தெரியும் எதை எப்படி செலுத்துவது என்று. அவருக்கு அதே நேரத்தில் he will give us a name. So we are all talking about self, body, coexistence, everything. There is one superpower. He is there. Before our mother gives birth and before our parents, how in the society, how our parents, our grandparents, they are together, called by name. For example, take myself. I am married to Joseph. My name is Infanta. So Infanta and Joseph are going to go ahead with the family life. Only God can connect. That is why during the marriage, கடவுள் இணைத்ததை மனிதன் பிரிக்காதிருக்கட்டும் இன்பத்திலும் துன்பத்திலும் உடல் நலத்திலும் சோர்விலும் காரணமும் கொண்டு இருவரும் பிரியாமல் இருப்போம் அப்படிங் that is what in Tamil. In English it is, under any circumstances, whatever may be the hurdles you are facing it, each one of us, we will not go ahead, we will not get separated, and this is what we take it, and that is what we have. First baptism, and then stage by stage 7 sacraments we have it in our religious things, and eternal life. The last one, it is our eternal life, where we are defining here, it is a self, that is a soul. It is being taken up. Only the body as a material will set away, will decay, decomposed, whatever it is of the bio order, it is. So, as you were pointing, self, it is always thinking, it is living. Yeah, the soul. Soul, self, everything, it is in the same meaning. This is what we have it. Each one of us being called by the name. Nowadays, everyone are looking into so many things. At what time he or she is born. This is the name Akash. A, triple A they will give it, or double A they will give it. Yeah, it matters, because I am from a background, as per the terms. We don't have belief on all those things. Every time it is good for the children, it is good for the human beings, it is good for the society. And we take all the times, whatever may be the cases, because that is what I have, the entire system from my part it is. That's what I just want to say over here. If I am wrong, I am not insisting anyone to this part. So I was just comparing, I was just correlating it and seeing it, what it is all about.
Yeah.
Thank
so
you.
The essential thing is that the existence is here, and the existence is, expressing itself. And when you look at the whole expression of the existence, there are different ways to describe it. Okay. So this is described in different ways, in different point of time, in different setup, right, in different language. So all those descriptions are available, and they are useful descriptions, right. We may start with those descriptions, but ultimately the responsibility is on us, to start with those descriptions, but ultimately see for ourselves, and understand this existence, this coexistence, and see how we have to live in this existence with a fulfillment. So those who have worked on it and found something, they have expressed it for everyone's well-being, right. So we take it as a good proposal, good description, but then ultimately it is we who have to look into the reality, understand the reality, okay, and then live with that reality which ensures fulfillment for one, for all, ultimately. So that is the point. So all these descriptions which are available are good descriptions, useful to draw our attention, but then with that proposal we have to look into it, understand it, be with it, and then ensure that fulfillment. That is what we are trying to say right from the beginning, that whatever is said here is also another set of proposals which have to be verified by all of you, looked into and verified by all of you. And if you understand those things, then you have to live up to it, and then check for yourself whether it is leading to a state of harmony and happiness or not, right. That is ultimately what we each one of us have to do, and that is why time and again we are saying it has to become the part of education, so that each one of us can realize it, right. What has happened in the past is that all these proposals which have been put forward have been very useful at that point of time, under those circumstances. But if it does not become a process of education, then they tend to become very fixed, okay, rigid, and they start losing the bearing over the time, okay. And then lot of rigidness comes, and it is not able to serve as much of purpose as it was supposed to serve. So, essentially it has to become a part of the process of education, where every one of us can see this, understand this, realize this, okay. So, in that sense all these religions that we have are good proposals, which are trying to describe the reality in different ways. What they are trying to describe is the reality, right, and the idea is to make our life more meaningful, more fulfilling, okay. But then we have to understand it, we have to understand it, we have to realize it, we have to live up to it and make our life meaningful, more purposeful, more fulfilling. So, that is the way I look at it.
Bhaiya,
Yes.
can we move to the next question, please?
I will not move to the next question, I will move to the next slide. Main issue is that I am in coexistence in space. Yeah, I am in a coexistence in space. This I have to realize for myself, for others, for every unit in existence. Okay. If you look at that whole thing, this is how it looks, right. You are already acquainted with this. The existence is in the form of coexistence, which is ever present, right. So, we have units, we have space, the units are submerged in space, the units are limited in size, the space is unlimited, units are activity, they are active, space is no activity. If you look at the units, you have material units and the consciousness unit. This we saw in quite detail when we were studying about human being, right. Then in material there is recognizing and fulfilling, and they are temporary in time. In consciousness we have knowing, assuming, recognizing and fulfilling, and they are continuous in time. All these descriptions we have been introduced to, right. So, I am not going into the details, I am just placing it, and this ever has already been explored, explained by Kumarji, that when you say ever, it means it is continuous in both time and space, right. When you say continuous, it is continuous in time but limited in space. When you say temporary, it is limited in both time and space. All these details, okay. So, the body is limited in time and space, self is limited in space but continuous in time, space is unlimited in time and space both, right. All these things you can remember. If you look at the whole existence, it is in the form of coexistence, and this coexistence is ever present, which means in all time, in all space, this coexistence is there. In coexistence in space, every unit is energized, self-organized and recognizing its relationship and fulfilling that relationship, we have just explained. Second thing is this coexistence is ever effective. That is, principle of coexistence applies to every reality, from smallest atom to biggest, the nature as a whole. So, anywhere you see any unit, small or big, right, this principle of coexistence will always apply to it, because that unit is by way of coexistence. Therefore, it is always working under coexistence, including human being. So, every other unit is anyway working under coexistence. We human being have this you know, possibility of knowing this coexistence, right? Assuming that coexistence, recognizing that coexistence, fulfilling that coexistence. That choice is there with the consciousness of human being, and this choice which is already there has to be materialized by every consciousness in human being, and that is ultimately what has to be done, right? I as a self has to have this understanding of coexistence, the feeling and thought of coexistence, and if I have that, I am in a state of harmony and happiness, and I can express this, you know, living with coexistence with every unit. This coexistence is ever expressing in the form of 4 orders. This we have already seen. In these 4 orders, in the physical order it is expressed from atom to heavenly bodies. In the bio order, this coexistence is expressed from cells to human body. You can see this human body, you know, trillions of cells together in coexistence, right? Not be able to count how many cells are there, but they are all together, they are in coexistence, and that is how the body is there, right? Animal order awakened to the activities of selecting and testing. Human order awakened to the activity of selecting, testing, analyzing, imaging, and it has the need to know and potential to know. All those descriptions we have already talked about. So, this is how the whole existence is. Okay. All this is already completed. This has to be completed in the human order, right? Yeah. So, we will stop here, break for tea.
We are going to start. If our phones are in silent mode. Welcome to the day 6, session 2. Let me once again welcome Ganesh ji. Namaste.
So, we have talked about the building blocks, you know, one by one, and now we are talking about the building as a whole, you know. So, now we can go a little faster, because every time you go to describe about the building, you have to talk about the building blocks, right? But now that we have already talked about the building blocks, it will be easier for us to talk about this whole thing, you know, the whole thing called existence. So, initially we were moving in a very slow speed, then we started walking, and now we will start jumping. So, I have jumped to lecture number 18, you know, left 17, okay, because all that is mentioned in lecture 17 is already being talked about, and it will be also included in lecture 18. Okay. So, from 16 I have jumped to lecture 18. Unit is self-organized, every unit is in harmony. Third thing that we are saying is that by virtue of this coexistence, by virtue of this unit submerged in space, every unit is able to recognize its relationship with other unit and fulfill that relationship. So, it is in relationship. So, 3 things. Number 1, existence is in the form of coexistence. Second, the units in this coexistence are self-organized, they are in harmony. And third, unit in this coexistence are in relationship with other unit. This is what we are trying to understand in essence. Okay. Are there some more people to come? Don't come, I have to keep waiting for you to come, because in the meantime whatever I say, whatever statement I make and you do not hear it, when you come back you will fill it up in your own way, and what you will fill up is only you know, right. So, I have to keep waiting. You will meet an accident and you will cause accidents for others. So, we are trying to understand the existence, okay, and three important things that we have already talked about it, in UHV1, UHV2. Now we have done so many repetition in UHV3. So, I will just place the essence of what is being said. What is being said is that if you look at the existence is in the form of coexistence, which is in the form of it. I do not need a slide for that. So, I said three important things we are saying. Number one, existence is in the form of coexistence, which is in the form of units submerged in space. Okay. That is one major statement. Then if you look deeper into it, you find that these units are in coexistence in space and they are self organized in space, right. In other words, they are in harmony, right. First, the units are in coexistence in space. Second, the units are self organized in space, they are in harmony. Third is that these units are related to other units, okay, in space. Okay. They are recognizing their relationship, fulfilling that relationship, right, in space. So, they are in relationship. These are the three basic statements, and if you look at them, that is what is being said. This natural characteristic is the unit being in relationship, innateness is unit being in harmony, coexistence is unit being in coexistence, right. So those three things that we have been talking about, right? Natural characteristic, inertness and harmony and coexistence is essentially saying that the unit is in coexistence in space, number one. The unit is self-organized, so it is in harmony, and unit is in relationship with other unit. All these three things are happening by way of coexistence, or do you have to do anything for it? All these three things are happening. The coexistence is there, every unit is in coexistence in space, is submerged in space. Harmony is happening because every unit is in harmony in space, is self-organized in space. The relationship is also happening because every unit is in relationship with other unit in space. So all these three things are already there, we have to do something about it. They are already there, the coexistence is there, the harmony is there, the relationship is there. All that we need to do as human being is to understand this coexistence, harmony and relationship, right? Have the feeling of coexistence, harmony and relationship, and live with that feeling, in my relationship with other unit. That is all that is necessary to do. As long as coexistence, harmony, relationship is there, it is already there in existence by way of coexistence. This is the essence of what is being said from lecture 16 to lecture 20. And as a conclusion of this, what we have to do as human being is to understand this coexistence, harmony and relationship, right, and live with that coexistence, harmony and relationship. That is it. That is the essence of all that we are going to talk about in lecture 16 to lecture 20. Is this clear in essence to you? Yeah. Then we can look into the details. Okay. So every unit belonging to any of the four orders has 5 aspects, right? One aspect is the form, other is the property, third is the natural characteristic, fourth is the inertness, and fifth is the coexistence. This also is being talked about, right? And it has been exemplified, explained with examples and all those things. This natural characteristic, inertness and coexistence are definite, they are continuous, they are universal for any given order. So if you look at these 4 orders, for each order you can identify the natural characteristic, the inertness and the coexistence, right. So for 4 orders, there are 4 of them, but within the order if you see, they are definite, they are continuous, they are universal. The natural characteristic and inertness of all units belonging to any particular order is the same. They, that is inertness and natural characteristic in 4 orders, are an expression of coexistence which is same for all units in nature. So all these natural characteristics and the inertness, the relationship and the harmony are finally the expression of this coexistence which is at the base, and this is same for all of them, right. The coexistence expresses itself in the form of inertness and natural characteristic in every unit of nature. That is what is happening, right. That coexistence is expressing itself in different form, right, as inertness and natural characteristic of those different orders, right. At the base it is coexistence, at the expression you have these details. So we will see those things now, This you are already acquainted with, right. I do not have to explain this. We will add one column to it, right, to show how coexistence is expanding into all these details, right. The activity is basically talking about being energized in space. Inertness is talking about being self-organized in space. The natural characteristic is talking about recognizing its relationship and fulfilling its relationship with every unit in space, right. And all these three things are by virtue of unit submerged in space, right. So, the activity, the inertness, the natural characteristic, they are all expression of the coexistence, right, expression of the unit submerged in space, the coexistence. Now, we want to add one column. This we have already seen. Contemplation is clarity of relationship, understanding is clarity about the self-organization, the harmony, and realization is clarity about the coexistence. This we have already talked about, so I am not spending time on that. With all this, with right understanding of existence as a whole, as we have just described in terms of realization of coexistence, we can say that it is this coexistence which is expressing itself in the form of activities, inertness, natural characteristic in 4 orders. If you look at them one by one, the basic expression of this coexistence in case of physical order is interaction. If you look at the physical order, every unit in physical order is interacting with other unit in the physical order. That interaction is always taking place, right. So, if you are placing a piece of iron in the open air where there is some humidity, some water, right, what will happen? It will rust, right. This rusting is taking place because this iron is interacting with the air and the water, okay, and getting converted into ferric oxide, right. And you do not want, if you do not want to this to happen, then you have to make some arrangement so that this water air does not come in contact with the iron. So, the idea of painting it, is essentially this. So, you have an iron door and you are painting it because you want to create an isolation between that iron piece and that air and the moisture. Okay. If you do that, then it is not rusting, because then this interaction has been avoided. So, like that, if you take the physical order, okay, one unit of the physical order is interacting with the other unit of the physical order, and this is happening without you doing anything, right. This interaction is by way of coexistence. So, the coexistence is expressing itself in the form of this interaction, right, and it is there. I mean, you are not doing anything for this iron piece to interact with the water and the air, right. It is interacting. That coexistence is taking care of, right. So, this coexistence is something, all these possibilities are there, possibility of these activities, possibility of this interaction of one unit of physical order with another unit of physical order. Is that clear?